Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to another episode of the United States of a Movie Podcast. Is it Monday today? No, it's Fun Day. This is the day we love to get into movies. The movie podcast for movie fans, by movie fans, that asks one big question. Can we find just one movie to represent each state in the United States? It's a great question. We've been trying to answer it for weeks. And when I say we, it's because this is the kind of question you cannot answer alone. So, of course, my fantastic movie nerd co-hosts are joining me once again on the show. Ryan, welcome back.
Oh, man, much like the Holy Trinity is used in many of Louisiana's cooking, we've picked three really interesting films to talk about.
That's not a bad way of putting it. We all brought some interesting movies to the table, including my other amazing co-host, Will Hirsch. Welcome back, buddy.
Well, it's great to be here. This is a great episode where I get to do my natural Louisiana accent, just like Peter Sarsgaard.
God. Just do your best foghorn leghorn and we'll get through this.
Well, I see.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Well, we're going to be doing that for the entire episode. As is quite obvious at this point, Louisiana is the state that we are deciding to take down. And there have been previous weeks or previous states that we've done where sometimes the answer seems almost obvious. And sometimes we are surprised, but there are times when there is one movie that is clearly more of the state than the other ones. Whereas in this case, we have picked three movies that are completely entwined into Louisiana in very, very different ways. Guys, I'm intrigued how this conversation is going to go because the variety of movies that we brought is quite interesting. I'll start with mine. It's the one that I had in the chamber. It's a movie I watched on a plane. Was surprised by how it was shot. I quite enjoyed it. I was surprised by the cast. And I was surprised at how much I kind of enjoyed it for being schlocky action. I chose the 2013 movie Homefront, starring Jason Statham. It's directed by Gary Fleder or Fleder. I'm going to go with Fleder. But he's also directed Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. Good movie.
Great movie.
Kiss the Girls, Runaway Jury, a few things like that.
Yeah.
The movie was written by Sylvester Stallone, originally developed as being potentially one of the Rambo sequels, where it then got handed off to Jason Statham. But then when I read the rest of the cast, this is kind of what I was interested with the guys, because it also stars James Franco, Kate Bosworth, Winona Ryder, Clancy Brown, Frank Grillo, Omar Benson Miller. I'm like, what the heck's going on with this cast?
This is such like an alternate universe movie.
Right.
That when you say that it was almost like in the Rambo universe, you could really, once you said that, it's all I could really see. And it does work in that thing. The only thing that really didn't work for me in this movie is Jason Statham's wig. That was
God.
Oh my God.
And him attempting to do that American accent in the beginning was
and
so
then giving
bad.
up halfway through.
Well, that's the thing. So that's the thing. That's the thing. Because I remember starting to watch this movie on a plane, and it's in the, you're on a plane for 12 hours, and you've got all these movies to watch. So at this point,
such a plane movie.
Yeah,
Such a plane movie.
You're definitely a little bit drunk on the free alcohol, and it's like, you know what? I've watched this movie. I watched the Oscar movie. I'm going to watch this piece of shit. And I put it on, and in the first 5 minutes, I'm not going to lie, I was concerned with the terrible American accent and the appalling wig as he's playing a biker. Then I'm like, is this movie going to suck? But then after the opening scene, which I think was probably part of an earlier book, because this is based off a book, it flashes forward a couple of years. He's in Louisiana. Suddenly he's like broker. He's English. He's just Statham again. So he was like, he was a British undercover DEA agent playing an American biker, while being undercover. So at least like that accent didn't, and that hair didn't go throughout the film, because otherwise I probably would have turned it on.
Man, I wish. It was like some sort of bargain bin Snape wig. Greasy blonde black hair. Whenever you see you really never see him with hair ever, right? So it was quite jarring. And then you tack on that whatever accent game he's doing, it just adds a whole other level to crazy to this movie.
He's so iconically bald that I forget that if you go back and watch The One, he has hair. Like he
Yeah.
has a full head of hair. But in my mind, I went
Yeah.
back and erased that, and I'm like, no, he's bald in that movie too.
Also, don't go back and watch the one.
No,
To be
you
clear,
will not have a
it'd
good
be
time.
like seeing like a Vin Diesel with hair, or
Yeah. Well,
you know, a Johnny Sins. I don't know.
Go back and watch Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Then there you go.
Yeah.
You've got hair in that one as well.
But it's such a. I mean, I know we glaze over the plot, but it's just to
Okay.
say it's such a great classic by the numbers Statham action movie.
And we will get to the plot and we will get to this movie, but my hot take is if this movie had come out in the 90s, it would be an action classic.
Oh, for sure. And it would be starring Stallone, 100%.
As you're watching it going, it's got all the pieces of all the classic 90s action movies.
It's kind of like if you've ever seen Hostage with Bruce Willis, which is basically kind of a very Die Hard adjacent. It has I love modern movies that have that very 90s action kind of feel.
Doesn't it have Ben Foster in it?
Does have Ben Foster. Doing his best Trent Reznor impersonation.
Yes. I remember watching that movie once and it being that was the movie where like I saw Ben Foster for the first time. It was that and X-Men 3.
And coincidentally, you could have picked the Jason Statham Ben Foster movie, The Machinist, but you didn't. You
was that The Mechanic?
The Mechanic.
Exactly. The Machinist is Christian Bale looking really skinny.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get back to Homefront. The thing is, it's quite fun that I like to just watch the movies.
Yeah.
Homefront, I was like kind of drunk. So the great thing
is the best way to watch the movie.
If you look at my notes, you got sort of page 1, it's quite well. And then by the end, it just says, what the fuck? And it's just huge, messy writing as I'm just enjoying myself.
You can just see the madness setting in.
I took a bunch of notes for this movie too, but I left them all at my office. So I'm going to have to go based purely off memory and adrenaline. But I too stopped taking notes halfway through. I'm like, there's no notes here. This is perfect.
But, well, I'll tell you, there's another movie, a movie I almost felt like I had watched. I can't remember. I mean, like, I've got that insane movie memory. I think I just saw the trailer. It was being very advertised at the time. Ryan, tell us about the movie that you chose.
I picked The Skeleton Key because I was just talking about it with a friend of ours now that it's spooky season. I felt that it was appropriate to pick a horror movie for this particular episode.
Yeah, I know. If only the movie had been scary.
Right.
I don't watch horror movies. I'm like, oh, here we go again. It's 2005 movie directed by Ian Softly. You'll know that he directed Hackers.
Yeah, I saw that.
Banger. And K-Pax, which is a guilty pleasure of mine. Starring Kate Hudson. This is kind of after she sort of really popped off after Almost Famous. They very much were aware that Kate Hudson was pretty in this movie. So many times does she go investigating things in just her underwear. And when she does run outside in the rain, it's when she's wearing a white t-shirt with no bra. You're like, these guys, okay. And it's like
they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, and it was so weird and jarring at times. And I'm like, okay, yeah, she's beautiful, but like, aren't we supposed to be trying to be scared right now? Anyway, also stars Gina Rowlands. She's pretty good in this movie. Peter Skarsgård, Peter Skateboard, like you were saying. John Hurt in a role where he barely says a word. It's a pretty crazy bit of casting there. And Joy Bryant as well as the only person that makes sense in this movie, as usual.
Yeah.
It's the friend going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I do like that a plot point in the movie is that black folks are far too smart and suspicious to fall for this. It's just gullible white folks.
Yeah.
For generations, which I quite enjoyed. We'll get back to the plot about that one once we cover our final film, one that I'd heard of. It came out in the last couple of years. Even my missus was interested when I said we were doing it, and it ripped my heart out over and over again. Thanks for that, Will. Which movie did you bring to the table?
I brought Blue Bayou, which I loved. We had just discovered it. We had just randomly come across the trailer. Like the roommates and I were trying to find a movie to watch, and we saw it, and we were like, "Oh, that looks interesting." After we watched it, and we're done crying for like 2 hours, we looked up info about it, and it really was not like an award season darling or anything. It really didn't pick up too many accolades, which blows my mind.
Yeah,
well,
because it's just.
I heard about it coming out of one of the festivals, and then it's like I remember then getting delayed because it was during COVID, so it finally came out in 2021. Right. But there was just such a lot of chat about it because it's written, directed by, and stars Justin Chon, who plays Antonio, and he has an incredible accent as well. He's the only Alicia Vikander as well in a fantastic role. Lin Dan Pam as Parker, Mark O'Brien, Vondick Curtis Hall, and Emery Cohen as the biggest dick in all of movie history.
Reprising his role as the biggest dick ever he's also in Arrival. He also plays the military guy that just kind of ruins everything.
That's right.
I had to look that up. I was like, I know this smarmy prick somewhere.
He is such a dick. Because this movie does rip out hearts, and it is, I think, by far the best movie that we chose. Why don't we just start off by talking about it, because it's a really interesting movie. It's based off a true story, and they put that in inverted commas because it's based on the stories of dozens of people. It's something that is a problem that is happening in America, where it's people who came to the country in the sort of 70s and 80s and as adoptees from overseas. So in this case, he plays a Korean adoptee who at the age of 3 is brought over to America. But because of this kind of loophole that still exists, that if you are adopted before the age, if you didn't turn 18 before the year 2000, you fall into this loophole. And these people who are American in every way, who have lived in America for decades in some cases, are being forcefully deported. And so this movie is beautiful to look at, right?
Yeah.
It's shot.
It's filmed incredibly.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were saying it was shot on, was it 16 millimeter or something?
I believe it's shot on 16 millimeter. I tried to look up some more information. I couldn't find that, but the look of the film looks like 16 mil to me. Which is, if you guys saw Red Rocket that came out a couple years ago, also shot on 16 mil, also gorgeous. But yeah, I think just shooting it on actual film, it just gave it that look that it needed. It's a very low budget movie, but that really elevates the look of the film.
It feels so visceral. I was even saying I don't know if this was on yours, but mine had a very particular aspect ratio. It was just ever so slightly narrow. That could have been from the film stock. I don't know, but you could even see there's just some grime and grit around that makes this feel so much more immersive.
Yeah. There are very, very specific scenes where you're like, oh, nobody checked the gate. So you've got a little a hair.
But it happened throughout the film, so I'm wondering if that was a choice, to make it,
I mean, you can always just explain it as, that was an artistic choice.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
Not that we were making this movie for $50,000 on a shoestring. But you're right, Will. I mean, I think it's because it looks like a bigger movie because it's shot on film, because it's got that depth in the color and the focus and everything else, the combination of the lenses and the things like that. So it's got a very real, just a feel to it.
It made me think of a Place Beyond the Pines. I kept thinking of that a little bit, like that kind of tone that something's just not right, or something's not going to go well.
What do you mean something's not going to go well? I think the actual movie, the production name for this movie was The Hits Just Keep On Coming.
Yeah. I was explaining this film. Just when you think it couldn't possibly get any more sad, it does.
Yeah. And it keeps doing it. And you get to the final scene and you think, oh, it's going to be sad. And then you get the up, down, up, down, up, down, down ending. It's just like, oh, for God's sake.
At the credits roll of this film, I just sat with my head in my hands, just like, I made the mistake, as we often do. I watched this movie. This was the third movie that I watched. So I ended the series with this. Yeah. And it was a poor choice on my part.
I completely did that too. Yeah, I did Homefront because I knew what I was getting into, had a bit of a giggle. And then it was Skeleton Key Blue Bayou back to back. And I'm like, wow.
Back to back.
I did this bad. Yeah. So sort of the plot of Blue Bayou is, so he is married to Alicia Vikander. They live in the Bayou. Surprise, surprise. He sort of moonlights as a tattoo artist in New Orleans. He has a sort of former criminal record because he used to steal bikes. So he kind of he went through the troubled foster system. We find out the people that adopted him abandoned him after 6 months. He bounced through the foster system. Then when he landed at a family, he was beaten and abused. So he went out on his own. But he is a fantastic stepfather to the young daughter of Alicia Vikander, who is also pregnant when the movie starts. The problem is the estranged father of said stepdaughter is a police officer, and his partner is the worst kind of police officer. The guy who's just using the shield to make up for all of his inadequacies as a man, and then uses that to abuse his power and abuse other people.
it was funny to me that partner really, you would think with a character like this, that character, and maybe he is, but it's more subtext, is like deeply racist also, but he's just a terrible police officer. So it's just kind of this blanket thing. But I think that would have added it either would have added an extra layer or maybe even taken away. I don't know, it might have been too on the nose. I'm not sure.
He's that kind of like you can learn everything you need to know about who he is as an officer
immediately
when you have that interaction in the supermarket, and you've seen these videos, and honestly, you may have even interacted with an officer like this, and they happen all over the world. But it's the guy who's just like, no, I'm an officer, so you have to do exactly what I say, no matter what I say when I say it. And I'm like, that's not how it works. People have rights. Actually, you can't just. Am I under arrest? No, fine. Leave me alone. You can't just lock me up because I'm not listening to you when you're just being a dick. So, and oh my God, I hated that character. But so that's kind of the inciting incident that starts this issue that when he gets arrested for being nothing more than a human being that's annoyed an officer, while he's in jail, they find out his status has changed. Suddenly he ends up at ICE. Now deportation has begun, and that is like an expensive practice. So they go to an immigration lawyer played by Vondit Curtis Hall, and they find out it's going to cost thousands of dollars. They don't have thousands of dollars. Suddenly now he has to try and find it. He goes and steals a bike with his old crew to get the money. That causes a problem with his missus. And then in the middle of all this as well is that he meets Linh Dan Pham, who plays Parker, I believe. So she who is a Vietnamese refugee who they meet in a hospital. They just strike up a friendship. And then you're like, oh, she's cool. What's happening with her? Oh, she's dying slowly of cancer. Great. Okay, so we get this sort of like, because the thing about it is like, if you sort of break down the plot, which we are, and we're going to go through it, it's not like an ABC. It feels like a very real, like, there's no like, all right, here's the dark night of the soul before we get act 3 and the rousing thing. It's like, no, this is a drama that feels like just people talking and things happening. But then mixed in with this kind of this beautiful sort of like flashbacks and moments of him kind of remembering his mother. And so, it's like, like it's not a conventional movie in any real way, is it?
No, it's very much it's messy, much like the situation is. In like, there's not clean, like you could predict the emotional arcs and all that. Like, oh, we're reaching this, this moment, but that helps it feel very real. And when he does things like, goes back to his old crew and is going to steal the bike, because he's such a good dad in the movie. One thing they really established is he's such a good dad and husband. You see him making that mistake and you're just like, you're just devastated. You're just like, just don't, I understand, but just don't do it. And I think that's the mark of a good movie is like, even when the main characters are making a mistake, you're so invested in their story and you get it. It doesn't feel like bad writing when there's the main character who does something stupid and you're like, oh, come on, would you really do that? You totally understand.
In this situation, absolutely you would, you really feel for everything he's fighting for. And
he loves that little girl so much, and then he's stealing that bike. And I'm Will. I mean, that was one of those moments when I was sort of talking to TV. He's like, "Oh, dude, come on, get out of there! Come on!"
God, he's like, "One more bike," because his guy's like, "All right, if every bike you get this, and if you get the Ducati, you get this." And he's like, "All right," so he's just pushing these bikes, and that was a great scene for his small stakes, so to speak. This is by no means an action blockbuster, but man, that was shot so well, and the little bit of tension that you get in that scene where he's going to get the keys and the cops are showing up and then he flies off, but he doesn't close his visor. So the ex-husband cop just happens to be there and he spots him and maybe suspects that it's him.
But kind
so much going on,
I mean, because he was a complicated character as well, because instead of it just being a one note, like just shitty dad, he's a guy that isn't the best, but also realizes he's made a mistake, but wants to reconnect with his daughter. But the first few times we really see him, he's doing it without the mom's permission. So it's annoying us. So his character actually arcs quite positively as the movie goes on, doesn't he? He ends up like, so the most annoying part of the movie is that it's all been set up that he's been able to pay for this lawyer who's able to organize a rehearing in front of a judge. And at this meeting, he's also reconnected with his estranged foster mother who never protected him when he was getting beaten. So we've had all these emotional scenes. She turns up to be a character witness. the ex-husband turns up going, well, if he leaves, then I'm going to lose my daughter, so I'm here as well. So everyone's come together. And just as he's getting himself ready to go to this hearing, the asshole cop who's off duty turns up in a white van with two of his friends, takes him out to the bayou and almost kills him by beating him. And you're like, oh, and then Alicia Vikander is like so angry, and the mother, I hate the mother.
Oh boy, classic mother-in-law.
Classic mother-in-law. As the movie went on, and so he's now crawled out of the bayou. He's bleeding. He's in pieces almost. He's knocking on the door, and the mum's like, "Don't answer the door." And you're like, "Come on!" So now everyone thinks he's just a deadbeat, and I'm like, "This movie, oh my god!"
He couldn't even make it to his own hearing.
Yeah,
it really. It just, and that was it. The hits just kept on coming. I mean, thing is, I enjoyed this movie though, guys. I mean, like, what did you think about it?
I thought it was fantastic, but like I said, it's a movie I really don't ever want to experience again, just because I just don't want to feel the way that it makes me feel. And for that, at least I can always go back and follow it up with Homefront if I need a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
But man, it was fantastic, and I'm surprised it didn't. It, like you said, really did go under the radar for a movie of this caliber.
It was a small independent movie, and it came out, neck deep in the pandemic.
Yeah,
and it was like, I think that was a time when people were trying to have escapist experiences, as opposed to, what I want to feel? Sad.
Right.
Yeah. Just depressed.
This guy Justin Chon, he comes out of the Twilight movies. He's directed a few movies, but for me, I found him to be quite the revelation. And I think the fun part for me, actually, I was watching the movie, and it's the bit where they're hanging out with the Vietnamese family, and it's just nice. And he's talking and he's laughing, and it's so funny because I said out loud to the TV, I go, "Oh man, he's got a really kind face." And then 2 seconds later is when the Vietnamese dad says, "Tell him he has a really kind face." I go, "Yeah, I know, I just said that."
This guy gets it. Hell yeah. Yeah. No, that was a great scene. And then you have Alicia Vikander singing that Linda Ronstadt song, right, from Man on Fire.
So she sings Blue Bayou, and she's got an incredible voice. That was a beautiful moment as well. And
but they're just really digging the knife in every scene. Everyone is so not flawed, but imperfect, and it just feels so real.
Oh, well, it does. And I'll tell you, it hits very close to home as the father of an adopted Asian child in America. And then that sort of the final scene of him, I was trying to describe it to Mrs. and go, "Yeah, baby," the movie basically ends with the stepdaughter and the stepdad literally being ripped apart as they try to hold their hands together and screaming and crying. Credits.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I go, it's not even credits. I then had to remember, then it tells the real true stories of 10 or 12 people who are currently going through this and being deported, and makes you feel like, oh, come on, man.
But when Taylor Sheridan does it.
Right. He fixes America.
Yeah.
No, I think this is such an important movie. I think more people should watch this. I think also if it were easily accessible on a streaming platform, I think more people would have a little more.
I think it was on Prime, wasn't it? I feel like it was a Prime movie.
It had to have been, because I think that's how we watched it originally. Because I watched it on Amazon, loved it so much I bought it. But it had to have been on Prime for a while. But the fact that it's still not on there is crazy.
Yeah, I watched it on Prime through Freevee, which I guess is owned by Prime. And it was just, there were commercials throughout it, and every single commercial was, strangely enough, for an HIV medication, which was alarming to me for me.
To really help. That's
what is the algorithm what's the algorithm telling me here?
I'm 42, so all my targeted ads are for male spanks and erectile dysfunction. I'm like, what the?
If only there was a way to combine the two.
It solves so many problems.
So this movie is just, it feels like you're walking around in Louisiana. It's all very much shot on shoulders. It's shot very intimately. There's no crane shots. There's no drone shots. There's no massive establishing shots really of anything. It feels like just a very, very intimate movie. You almost feel like, you can hear and smell and feel the streets as he's walking around New Orleans. You 100% know there's probably just random people walking past. You know what I mean? It's
for sure.
Controlled film set. It just feels like him sort of right in the middle of everything. We feel like we're in the middle of everything, but for me, I believed that he was Antonio. That accent and that way and his whole vibe. I was like, was he from Louisiana? Is he adopted? You know, like I was looking it up.
No, it's he worked with voice coaches to get that voice down, and it really shows, because I was like, oh, this must be a case where this guy's writing a story from his like real life where he grew up, and no, it was just a story he was passionate about.
Yeah, I genuinely thought it was maybe based off, you know, his life or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if he's writing, directing, and starring in it, you have that inclination that this is his story. But that was
the same accent coach that Statham used for Homefront, right?
Yeah, the same people. That's why it's flawless. And Sarsgaard used the same one for Skeleton Key. Yeah.
Oh my god! It's like again, to give more just nuance to how much of a bummer. Like I said, it's not like it leaves you feeling bummed, but it's like, you know, you find out that his biological mum did send him a letter, and that when he finally gets to read it, she goes, "Oh, I tried to drown you, but I couldn't. So I gave you up for a
my god!
Why did you write that in a letter to him? Like, and then,
dude, I would have
left that out.
I was getting flashbacks to the Joy Luck Club, and I was like, I can't. This is way too heavy right now. I'm like, oh, I mean, obviously, you know, he lives, but unless are we talking Jacob's Ladder scenario? The whole thing flashes back to him as a little baby.
A baby Jacob's Ladder that flashes all the way forwards and has an awareness of Louisiana. I think that's maybe a bit of a reach. But like, you know, the movie then sort of goes on, and then our Vietnamese friend, she dies. Cool. Then he sells his bike and gives himself up for deportation. And then you get that momentary lift of like Alicia Vikander and the little girl. They followed him to the airport, and they're like, "We're coming with you." But then you've also got the dad, the police officer, actual father, biological father. He's chasing to the airport. He gets there, and then you think it's going to escalate, and then she changes her mind, and then they change their mind again, and then Antonio goes, "No, you guys need to stay. Let me get established in Korea, then you guys can come out." And then
I was waiting for the mother-in-law to also be entailed to talk him out of it, like just to really. I was like, "Where's this is getting?"
And then the Vietnamese dad turns up with an urn with his friend in it as well to get involved in the conversation. But like, yeah, I thought the movie was going to end, and then it gave us 5 minutes of messing with our emotions, and then ripped our heart out again. I was like,
God. Yeah, when the daughter runs to him at the end is just like when I was completely broken down.
Yeah, that broke me.
This left me pretty raw at the end of this. Like you need a cup of tea and a hug or something. Like it's just brutal.
Which is half a bottle of whiskey,
right,
and a cathartic sob into a pillow.
Yes,
God, no kidding.
Oh, but that being said, I would recommend this movie to
100%,
pretty much anyone. If you just want to watch a heartfelt movie, a well-made movie, see some people just do some acting that doesn't feel like acting. I mean, it very much didn't. Like I said, everything feels so intimate in this movie, and so a part of it. And like, it's the first 20 minutes is just so nice of him just being a good dad to this little girl, and connecting and having fun, and then it just slowly, it's death by 1,000 cuts.
That's such a great way to put it.
It does feel like this gets thrown around a lot, but it does have a very documentary feel to it, where you're just watching these people's lives, which I mean, for a first film, because I think this is, he directed a few things for TV, but I think this is like his first real feature that's like his.
So he's directed 3 films.
Okay.
2017's Gook, 2019's Miss Purple, and then Blue Bayou in 2021. And he's a member of a K-pop parody group, Boys Generally Asian. I've got to find out some more about that.
Oddly enough, they did the soundtrack for Blue Bayou. They wrote the score.
Alicia Vikander was the one that was singing.
Yeah, that's cool. I figured that, like that seemed like her singing. That was great.
That moment was really, really fascinating, actually, wasn't it? That, you know, she gets up, and I was wondering, what is she going to sing? And it's kind of like with the Vietnamese crew, and then suddenly it's like she starts singing, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I also remember that song. I remember specifically from Denzel Washington's Man on Fire, and God, that another movie that just absolutely it's brutal, but it rips your heart out towards the end.
That's that great happy ending of he dies.
But if you pretend that doesn't happen and then you immediately watch The Equalizer 3, it's kind of like Man on Fire 2. I mean, it's got Dakota Fanning back in it.
Wait, what? She's back in it?
Yeah, man.
Oh,
she plays the same character.
I'm gonna have to watch The Equalizer. Well, look, there's not much really more to be said about Blue Bayou apart from it's fantastic, it's haunting, and you should watch it. So let's move on to the Skeleton Key. Let's move on to the Skeleton Key, which, as I was joking about before, is a horror movie that's not that scary.
It's a suspenseful thriller.
I suppose
that's being generous. I would say it's kind of like
it's a movie.
There we go. That I can.
It's a movie. I remember like this came out in that time, and at least it was like I think it was refreshing that this was sort of original. I mean, it doesn't really do a lot new, but I like that it's a spooky film set in an unfamiliar setting with like sprinkles of hoodoo voodoo all over it. And I think at that time when it came out, there were a lot of rebirths of they're making like remakes of Friday the 13th and all these other movies, and to have this one probably get swept under because it wasn't a remake, do something original. I remember enjoying it. This is the one time I watched it, probably in 2005, and then seeing it again I was like, I like this movie's good. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. For me, I was like, oh, the twist was interesting, and then was it Will? You said it was so obvious. It was like having a character in a movie called McStabby. I definitely did it.
Yeah, Stabby McDefinitely did it. Yeah, it was the moment. There's a moment in the film where they show a picture of like two children and then two adults.
Yeah, and
they're like, oh yeah, the previous owners of the house. And I was like, I call the ending right there. I was like, okay, this is exactly what's gonna happen. Let's go. Let's get to it.
I was surprised. I'd not even already seen it. I just didn't remember because it was so long ago, and I forgot there was a twist.
Yeah, no, actually, that's the thing, is because I didn't really feel the twist coming. I felt like it was just
and the twist is so absurd. It's like it's so fucking ridiculous that you kind of have to suspend all disbelief.
It's kind of sold you a dummy, because that's the thing is you think what they're doing is stealing, and what they're actually doing is switching, which is why it became a surprise. We've got way ahead of ourselves there. So let's the basic plot of this movie is the Kate Hudson. She's a hospice aide. She works with end of life. And this all basically comes from the fact that as a young girl, she went off on a bit of an adventure and her father died. So that's the very lazy character motivation of why she feels the need to be there for people as they're passing and to make sure that they have someone with them. But she's feeling like where she's working at the hospice is just a place that's a business. Now it is a business, as her friend tells her. Her friend, played by Joy Bryant, tells her, look, it is a business. So she takes a job to be kind of like a live-in nurse in this Louisiana plantation house. She's found by this lawyer, Peter Skarsgård, to help Gina Rowlands with her husband, John Hurt, who's basically in an almost catatonic state. So it's kind of a creepy house. And she's like, and Gina Rowlands is like, here's the key. Here's the skeleton key. It opens every door in the house. And you're like, okay.
Then she immediately finds the one door it won't open.
Then she immediately goes into the creepiest room, like the attic, and then is able to hear a noise, and that noise being a door that's vibrating and behind like something that's obviously been hidden and obviously been blocked up. And she's like, you know what I need to do? Open that frickin' door.
Like, yeah, she's incredibly nosy throughout this entire film, like unnecessarily.
That's exactly how by the end of the movie go, well, you shouldn't have been such a nosy bitch.
And usually in situations like in movies like this, that character is generally terrified of the things that they're uncovering, but she's just more inquisitive and like super into it. She's not really like a scaredy cat like
she's not a scaredy Kate.
Yeah, scaredy Kate. Thank you.
She's a very brave Kate, almost recklessly in many ways. So she breaks into this room, and this is a big no room. This is a room.
Yeah, you haven't thought of the smell, you bitch.
This is why, like I was saying, the plot point in this movie is that none of the maids that they hired, and we actually get to meet one of them. Any of the people that they hired to do this sort of nursing job, and if they're black, they're just like, nope.
Yeah, nah,
I'm out of here.
yeah.
They're like, this is messed up. Something's up. And if you can't see that, you're crazy. And then you've got Kate Hudson going, it'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm whimsical. I'm not like the other girls.
That room is a room of nightmares. It is a room of voodoo nightmares. And
it's just jar after jar of homunculus and just weird cryptography on the floor. And
just, there's like not pentagrams, but you know what I mean? Like things
a really dope record collection.
Yeah. Of a really dope record collection of people from like 90 years before doing hoodoo magic. And she's like, you know what I need? I need to take this. This is the thing that's going to help me in my life.
It's crazy they couldn't get the rights to the word voodoo, so they just had to get hoodoo.
Okay.
Who knew it was copyrighted?
The actual explanation for that being, and it's in the movie, that voodoo is a religion where hoodoo is basically magic. So it's sort of, things are a little bit weird. Like, so she starts looking after John Hurt, who can't move, but very quickly he's climbing out of a window to try and get away from this house. He falls off the roof. She runs out, no bra, white t-shirt, pouring rain, and they do a very, very good job of any time like the camera's gonna finally like just kind of catch it. They cut away. They're like, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? I found it ridiculous. I just put her in a bra or put her in a black t-shirt. Jesus.
Yeah. It's Louisiana, man.
But it's like, so it's that John Hurt is like trying to get away, and then she finds a little hidden message that he's written. It says, help me.
Yeah.
And
it's definitely written. It's definitely written in his own shit.
Yes,
for sure. It's no other explanation.
Definitely, it says "help me" smeared in human feces.
Yes, he wrote it with his butthole. I think is the way that we have to assume that they sent that message.
I was really confused, like, about, because they said like, oh yeah, he's like catatonic, could barely move, and he's like one of the most mobile catatonic people I've ever seen in my entire life.
He's nimble.
I think he gets around better than people who are fully abled. I didn't understand like to what level is he like catatonic and immobile.
Drugs are wearing off.
Yeah, that's. I think that's it. That was my take. Yeah,
you've got to give him the milky stuff that just.
But even for him to like crawl out of that window onto the awning, which I then read, if you look on the IMDb trivia, John Hurt, he really wanted to like fall off of that roof. He wanted to do it practically, and they're like, "No, man, you're fucking old. You're not doing that."
It was him trying to get out of the movie. It was just like, if I fall off the roof and break my legs, then they'll have to recast.
He has maybe one line in the entire movie. The rest of the time is just him, like, not just, it's all eyes and looks. And so then it gets that sort of like, you start getting suspicious of the misses, and you wonder if it's like, what's that, the Stephen King movie with the writer and
Secret Window.
We were just talking about Secret Window.
No, the Kathy Bates one, you know.
Misery.
Oh, Misery. Yeah.
Misery, right. If he's like being kept in a situation, if she's like
Munchausen by proxy.
Yeah, something like that you're sort of wondering that's going on, and then she's getting suspicious too. But then she's also like, every now and again, she drives back into New Orleans, that hour drive in the completely inappropriate car for the place that she lives. She's driving an old 1960s. This is the worst Herbie movie I've ever seen. Herbie goes to Hoodoo. Because she could have really used a more powerful car later on in the movie to break down a gate.
God.
Yeah, the idea that car could go through like even just slightly like rough terrain, like even just like pebbles on the ground is fun. My dad had that car in college.
Yeah, that car,
and it was constantly falling apart.
And the fact
he was
that
literally putting it back together. And
I saw Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. He won the Monte Carlo rally. Thank you very much. I know exactly what these cars can do.
Well, that is a documentary, so I didn't forget about that.
I love that in that scene, because she finally gets him out this whole rigmarole, and she's like trying to escape, and the only thing holding them back is getting through this gate and this very meek vehicle. She carries him out of the wheelchair into the car after I forget if this is after she's hidden him in the shed where the rain is slowly.
She hides him in the shed after she can't get out of the gate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she doesn't even attempt to put a seatbelt on this man. She floors it. I was expecting him to go flying through the windshield.
Yeah.
He can't move, so he can't like brace himself. He's just shit out of luck.
And at that point, like, he's got no real way of communicating, and we've definitely jumped ahead. But it's the whole like, is he terrified because she's kidnapping him? Like, you never quite know what's happening. But we'll back up, because she goes back in and she starts like talking with her friend Joy.
Is this the world's most elaborate meet cute? But sparks were flying, baby.
But it's her friend Joy who is like, "What are you doing?" And it's everybody in the movie that's clever and smart and makes good decisions is black. Everybody.
She could have solved this problem just by going, "Girl."
Yeah. She tries.
She does try.
It's like because. So she's like, it's because Kate Hudson is trying to. It's interesting because I kind of get what they're doing. Is that she wants to be a nurse as well? Is kind of what she's doing is to save up enough money to go through nursing school, kind of stuff. So she's genuinely trying to help. And so what she starts believing is she starts finding out the history of this house and about hoodoo and about the magic. Is that she starts to think that maybe John Hurt's character, it's a psychosomatic kind of thing, that because he believes that a spell has been done to him, that if she can learn how the magic works, she can perform a ritual. Again, I'm using my my inverted commas, but it's something that will help John recover. So that's kind of like, so I give credit for that, of just like, all right, the motivation. So instead of it just being I'm a dumb person trying to learn about this spooky magic in this house I'm trapped in, where everyone else is like, I'm out. It's like, no, she's trying to help this guy, and she's trying to do it. The reason she's doing the hoodoo is for that.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot in this movie where her friend is like, you try and replace like all of these father figures because of what happened with your dad. So so Kate Hudson's character is like intrinsically trying to help these people no matter what, like you said. So I mean, yeah, that's definitely there. I do love the bit though when her friend, who knows basically everything about hoodoo, she's like, everything you need to know is in that laundromat right over there. And she's like, oh shit, cool. You want to come in? She's like, fuck no. What are you scared? Yeah, bitch.
Yeah, yes I am. Are you insane? I'm not going to go messing around with things I don't understand. Go off and mess around with things you don't understand. See how it works out for you. Not well. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. Like, go ahead.
And then you get sprinklings quite literally throughout the film of the brick dust to prevent evil spirits from passing through. Like Kate Hudson gets all of the information, all of the tools, all of the hits from the hoodoo specialist. Who gives her like a to-go box, a bento box full of, she's like, you've got the candle, you've got the feathers, you've got the herbs. This is how I picture Ollie making tea every night. But and she's like, I'm gonna fix you.
Yeah, and the thing is, like I said, it does set up that you
kind of worked, right?
It does. Because so I mean, then it becomes very much a plot of the movie is that the magic only works if you believe it. And so if you don't believe, okay, if you're listening at home, Will just closed his eyes and is shaking his head like he's just the laziest.
And but you also picked Field of Dreams, which is the same fucking thing. You only see the ghosts if you believe. Come on, we've established.
Got you with that one, Will.
Except for that's a good movie. This is like, God, when they got to that, like, it only works if you believe in it. I'm just like, I don't know. I couldn't come up with anything lazier. Like if I tried, I don't know. I just rolled my eyes at that moment, and I was like,
just cuts to Morpheus saying he's beginning to believe.
Yeah, I'm just like, so if you make the choice of like, I like that it worked as like same rules as a monster that lives under your bed. The more you believe in it, the more it tries to get you.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
it's flawless. What's your point?
I just could. I was like, so then just anybody who doesn't believe is just gonna annihilate these people. Like there's just
that's like, I mean that was the whole thing, is like they needed her, like she was a non-believer. They needed to trick her into thinking she was believing to believe that she believed that her beliefs were unbelievable.
Oh, I get it now.
Yeah, that's basically
which is verbatim in the opening crawl of this this text crawl of this movie.
You won't believe it.
It was just one of those explanations where
it's a stretch.
I'm like, no, it either works or it doesn't work. There's not an in between. I was just like, that's why I typically don't like supernatural. I don't like supernatural horror in general.
That's fair. Yeah.
Because like it's too easy to come up with stupid rules like this, and like to be like, the more you believe in it, the more they try to harm you. But also brick dust keeps it out, and also if you sneeze 3 times, it gives you internal life. I'm just like, I can't. There's just whatever the plot needs.
Oh man,
is what this movie's going to come up with.
The good people of Louisiana are going to fucking light you up.
Well, I don't believe in Louisiana, so they're gonna not get this. I figured it out.
It's a hell of a fuck. Now you're talking loopholes.
Yeah, I don't believe in bullets. It'll be fine.
But then then they get into the history of this house and how just deeply fucked up everything.
That's what I wanted to talk about. Is that so? You got this really jarring flashback scene. So we've heard talk of the history of this house. It's Mama Cecile and Papa Justify. So they were two black sort of staff almost. I mean, this is a plantation house, and we're going back over 100 years. And at this time, it's being owned by this rich banker, this rich white banker. And so they're having this party, and it's almost like Great Gatsby almost kind of thing.
Yeah, very much.
There, and there's champagne, and then they're like, oh, where are the children? And they start playing a game, and then it becomes less of a game because they can't find the children. And then they eventually find them upstairs in the nightmare room that we find later in the movie, where the two adults, Mama Cecile and Papa, what is his name? Justified. Are like in the middle of this, like they seem like they're almost like, oh, catatonic. Their eyes are rolled back, and then there's the two kids just sitting there innocently in the middle of all these candles, and it's a really shocking, jarring scene where they take the two people downstairs, and I was like, oh crap, now there's going to be a lynching. Yep, lynching. They cover them in alcohol. They set them on fire. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But that holy shit moment becomes a whole other holy shit moment when you realize that what's actually happening is that you aren't stealing the youth, you're switching bodies. So they went and took their children downstairs, lynched and burnt them to death, which I'm going to give credit to this movie for as well, for being like it's a big swing. It's a big swing. That was pretty dark. Pretty impressive. And so it was that sort of jarring scene. It was kind of bothering me. I'm like, oh, well, okay, great. So we don't have that many black characters in the movie, a very white Louisiana movie, and now we're lynching two of them. But then it kind of comes out that the entire time is no, they're the ones that have been getting the one up on everybody.
They're just quantum leaping from people to people.
They've been quantum leaping.
So don't worry, this movie's not racist. The bad guys killed everybody. We're black, and they killed everyone the entire time. So it's fine, everybody. This movie is blameless.
It's only racist if you believe.
Yes. I'm starting to get this movie now.
Yeah.
Well, so to explain to anyone that hasn't seen the movie, the twist at the end is that we've kind of found out that this magic, we've been told, enables you to steal the youth from people and extend your life. But what you're actually doing is switching bodies. So that's why they've got Kate Hudson. So it turns out that Peter Skarsgård is not some lawyer. We found like the really poor.
Yeah, he had like
by Peter Skarsgård.
How-to lawyer, dummies guide for
dummies.
Yeah.
So he lets Kate Hudson into his house, and he's got books out saying an idiot's guide to being a lawyer and stuff, and then just.
And doesn't he also have the record? Or no, I think she's playing. There's like a song overlap. That was her moment of like, oh.
But yeah, that's when we suddenly figure out that he is Papa Justify, and that he's switched bodies. So John Hurt, he was John Hurt. He switched into to Peter Skarsgård, and then so when it comes to that, Mama Cecile is now the wife, and that Kate Bosworth is going to be her. But the thing is, they've kind of Kate Bosworth being too nosy.
Kate Hudson.
Sorry, yeah, Kate Hudson. Sorry, we'll get to Bosworth. Kate Hudson, being as nosy as she has been, has learned this magic, and it's for protection. And so she then basically she lays a trap for herself, and. Yeah.
Classic blunder.
Will's face is a picture.
Once again, I was just like, I know it. Like, but when she started getting the ingredients, I'm like, it's a trap. I know, I get it. Come on, like, let's move on to the next plot point. I was so far ahead of this movie.
That's good.
I was at the credits of this movie 5 minutes in, like mentally. I was just like, I get it. I know where we're going.
You're too used to these movies, man. It's like, I don't watch enough horror movies that I was there going, oh, like as it's happening. Like,
I don't want to believe it.
So
I enjoyed this movie though. I love when she's using the magic. She's attempting to use the magic against them, and she's sprinkling I'm like, well, why don't you just put yourself in a fucking circle, man? Just like.
Well, that's what she does inadvertently in the murder circle.
Yeah.
Well, But yeah, no, there's that whole thing where she's learnt the sort of the hoodoo, and so she starts using it to her advantage.
Right.
She starts laying brick powder out so they can't get in. And then it's like you feel like, all right, she's doing this circle of protection kind of thing, and that's the twist of it is like, no, you've just walked into our trap. Thank you very much, and thank you for believing. So then we have this whole thing. The mirror comes towards, crash, scream, and then it's kind of like, oh, it's like again, it's more movies should end on a bummer.
That's the theme of this episode.
So far, we've got two movies in a row that end in a bummer. So Mama's
it's got that cool. It's got that cool like horror twist at the end where it doesn't end on like a happy thing where the final girl makes it out, and it's just
and then it's just
completely fucked. Yeah.
Explained to Joy, who is not nearly as suspicious as she should be. So the friend that comes by, she's like, "Oh no, it's all right. I know I called you 911, and I know I didn't actually recognize you when you walked into the door.
Yeah. Oh right, my friend.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, that's right. What's up, dude? And I realized it's actually something that my missus and I do. I said, honey, if I don't introduce you to somebody, I can't remember their name. Can you introduce yourself so I can get the name? Just giving away a secret there. Yeah. But that's what Skarsgård does, is he introduces himself to her so he can get the name. And that's when she goes, oh, yes, of course. Yeah. I don't know why she's a posh British lady. Oh, hello, Kate. That's my Kate.
It would have been a better movie.
Yeah. But it kind of ends with John Hurt, who's been not John Hurt. So Peter Skarsgård as John Hurt and Kate Hudson as Gina Rowlands in catatonic states in an ambulance. Now, explain to me this, okay?
Again, another meet cute. I'm telling you.
Right. But they've been kept in a catatonic state because as soon as she switched, they force her to drink liquid, which you spit that out. But once they get to the hospital, they're not going to be giving them this catatonic medicine anymore.
Just move past it.
No, we're just moving. Okay. We're just. Okay.
Well, Ollie, if you stuck around for the post-credit sequence, it clearly says they die on the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say like this whole ruse, everything they did, because they ask Joy to like, oh, can you go with him to the hospital? I'm like, this is gonna get unraveled in 15 minutes. Like this is. If this movie went on just a little bit longer, it would be like the whole Scooby-Doo, like, wait a minute, all right. I saw what you guys did.
You're saying you want this movie to be a little bit longer?
No, absolutely not. I want, actually, and here's something I'll say. I don't normally do plugs like this, but if you want a better version of a similar story, the movie I co-wrote, Scare Us, if you go to Tubi for free and watch it, we have a short in our film. Similar idea, but Tom McCoy, our director, wrote and directed this segment of the film. And it's 1,000 times better. So I stand by that. So go watch Scare Us instead of this, and I guarantee you'll have a better time.
Inspired by the Skeleton Key.
I like to think the writers of Skeleton Key ripped us off 10 years earlier.
It's the Skeleton Keys we meet along the way.
Yeah.
It wasn't. The thing is, right? It wasn't like a bad movie. That's the thing. Is it looked good?
It's fine.
It was well shot. And like all of these movies uses the locations well.
Yeah, I was going to say we're going to talk about the Louisiana of it.
The inherent sort of creepiness of it, the big trees, the kind of. So one thing I did get is that the house that they're doing it actually was landlocked. So there is actually CGI in this movie is to create that swamp behind them that she uses to kind of escape, and because it's meant to be on the coast.
That's cool. Yeah. When they first introduced the house, I was like, this looks just like the house from Forrest Gump.
Yeah. I thought also it looks just like the house from Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, which is or it just looks like every Louisiana slave house. Yeah, plantation house. Right. Excuse me.
But like, the movies that I wouldn't. Again, so if you're a gargantuan movie nerd and writer yourself, like Will is,
use this movie as a crutch.
I mean, I genuinely was like, I was one thing I did say is I wasn't really that scared by the movie at all. I was very much just like, I was expecting it to be creepier, but I did like the end. I did like the twist.
What about the bit when she goes to the gas station and she hears like the baby crying and she walks up to the glass door and the fucking blind woman is just like right there? That was
again
quite full on.
Nosy
one jump scare.
Just so nosy that she's trying to pay for the gas and you're in the nopest garage ever, and then you start walking past like chicken bones are hanging and there's all sorts of weird stuff, and then in the background. You see the baby.
She's
crying.
just inquisitive. She's inquisitive.
Yeah, well, it's curiosity killed the Kate in this particular case, because you just like I would have been like, you know what? Fine, nobody wants my money. I'm out of here. And then you turn around, scariest gas owner ever. Like he looks like some sort of Haitian dude. That's you're like, okay, he's everything is scary in this place. And she's like, I think it's just the white privilege. She's blonde and white. And she goes, nothing will happen to me ever.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm a caregiver.
Yeah,
like. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like Ryan, would you how would you boil this movie? Would you recommend this movie to people? Because I don't.
I'm sure there are far better movies, but like I said, at that time period in 2005, this was such like an original yet familiar scary movie, so to speak. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it felt very Louisiana. I mean, it was definitely moist and sweaty. Very, very wet film.
I mean,
it is normally a requirement for movies I watch. Is it
for me?
Moist and sweaty. Yeah.
I mean, it doubled its budget. It made nearly $100 million. Which is crazy. That's what I'm saying. Is I kind of was just aware of this movie when it came out, but I think a big part of it was at the time, Kate Hudson was just very much like the it girl. Mm-hmm. She was very much on fire. So it was like Kate Hudson. It was being sold as a Kate Hudson movie.
Am I remembering that she also starred in a remake of Overboard?
No.
Oh, I don't know if it was a remake.
Well, there was something Overboard. They gender switched it.
Yeah,
but I don't think she was in that.
Okay, I don't know why I was thinking that. I know Goldie Hawn was in it. But...
Well, yeah. What was Is it Fool's Gold? That you could be thinking of? I don't know.
Because there is an Overboard remake.
Yeah, I just didn't know if she was in it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, the last thing I think we saw her in was Glass Onion. She was great in Glass Onion.
Yeah, she was very.
She was fantastic in that movie. Yeah,
she was so funny, and I also like the little things that when we're slight segue here, but like when they were searching the bags of everybody, you start seeing the things, and it's kind of like you realize that she's like been on acid the entire time because there's little tabs turn on this thing. So that's why when you watch the movie and you think that she's just tripping balls, it's why she's really making no sense half the time. It's because she's off her tits.
Such a great movie.
But that's a great movie. I'm gonna rewatch that.
Speaking of great movies,
let's do it. let's talk about the best movie of all of them.
Fries.
2013 Homefront, baby.
A movie that exists.
And a movie whose again, like I said, all of these movies have this kind of like commentary, because so many of these movies, even though being based in Louisiana, are very, very white as well. But of course, in this one, we do have Omar Benson Miller, whose entire breakdown of this movie is fucking rednecks.
The opening of this movie reminded me of the best parts of True Detective, the first season of True Detective, which if you haven't seen, it's incredible.
Probably the best single season of TV.
But then all of that just immediately goes away.
Well, see, I'm gonna fight the corner for this movie because I watched it again and I liked it. But also,
I enjoyed it.
This movie is using Louisiana to the maximum. There are so many times when they're sitting out. It's a movie that could so easily have been shot on a movie lot, and instead it is shot entirely outside, entirely on location. Real houses, real trees, real boats, real rivers, real things, real explosions, real bridges. And it's like, so I'm like, okay, all right. I'm like, it looks good. I like Jason Statham kicking ass, but what I really quite enjoy is the supporting cast of James Franco being an excellent meth creep, Kate Bosworth playing a meth head. She's honestly steals the movie. Winona Ryder, like Clancy Brown. I mean, everybody turns up in this movie and they're doing good work. I appreciate it.
Yeah, they're all good.
The parts outweigh the sum.
Yes. No, most definitely.
The only thing I could have said to improve this movie is if it was remade today, starring Gerard Butler doing whatever fucking accent he wants.
Gerard Butler's accent.
All of them. All of the accents.
Slightly English, Scottish, American, Australian accent.
Just ambiguous.
It's his what's the amazing movie that we love?
Geostorm?
Geostorm! That is right. His accent in Geostorm is nonsensical.
Changes every scene.
I'm like, for example, I mean, Jerry B movies, man. It's
I
London
love
Has
Jerry
Fallen. That is such a good movie.
Or Olympus Has Fallen, or any of the Fallen
I
movies.
remember Olympus Has Fallen, like being because it came. I really like White House Down when it came out.
Yes,
that is such a fun movie to watch. My wife and I will watch that one.
Wait, is that that's the Channing Tatum one?
Channing Tatum, Jamie Foxx one.
Yeah, because this came out around the same
time. Whereas, like then Olympus Has Fallen was the R-rated one. Which. But the London Has Fallen, I remember Mrs. and I put it on just to be like, whatever, put it on in the background, and we're watching going, this movie's fun.
Yeah.
I like this Jerry B movie. I haven't seen I did see the third one.
The third one, right?
Yeah. There's you know what? I think they're making a fourth one. Go crazy. But we're talking about Homefront, which is I think so James Franco, so basically the plot of the movie is Jason Statham, as we've explained in the opening of the movie, is an undercover DEA agent with a terrible accent and even worse hair. But after achieving his mission, where he gets, Danny T is the biker gang leader. Him and his son escape. I do enjoy that you managed to get like the bad guy's son is shot 700 times.
Yeah.
So they've got every single squid, but it's like the thing. It actually made me burst out laughing. Is like he's shot 700 times, blah, 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 and he's like there. And then as it stops for 1 second, then one guy goes blah. Like he gives him just one extra shot. It's like the comedy.
It's literally the RoboCop scene. But almost played like for laughs because it's just going on for so long.
That last cop gets there. He's like, "Hey guys, what I missed? Oh shit, pop!
I want to get one in too. I want to
nice shooting, rookie." And then as he's like in slow motion falling over, he just looks at Statham and goes, "Wink."
Yeah.
And it does, and you get that bit where it says, written by screenplay by Sylvester Stallone, based on the novel. And I wonder how much it's kind of like we've talked about before.
I'm sorry, what?
Sylvester Stallone is notorious for like trying to, he did it with Cobra or whatever.
Yes.
Trying to get his name on the book that he based his screenplay off. I wonder how much of that is actually Sylvester Stallone writing and how much of it is just him.
I wonder if that hurts sales of the book or improved sales of the movie. Because when they like the movie comes out after the book, they change the cover of the book to be the type, like the cover of the movie. Yeah,
to be the movie when they do that, it's like
your video. Oh, there you go.
My camera died for a second there. I'm gonna turn on a fan. But yeah, it's when they say it's now a Universal movie or something like that, and it's got the actor on the front and things like that.
It's just a picture of Stallone as Rambo and it just says Homefront at the bottom.
Right.
Written, directed, starring, produced, music by.
It's in the Clint Eastwood movie, when he does all the piano stuff. But yeah, so he completes his mission, and then they go undercover. So it's kind of like witness protection, but not. But he essentially kind of retires from the DEA, takes his daughter, goes to live in the quiet Louisiana Bayou. And then very sort of quickly, they have a problem, and the problem actually comes through that, as I wrote in the notes, well-cast bully, very punchable, is this little kid at high school starts trying to bully his daughter, and so it's played by Isabella Vidovich, playing Maddie Broker, and I do enjoy that he's trying to bully her, and she's like, all right, okay, stop. And he keeps bullying. She goes, okay, I'm going to tell you again. You need to stop. I've warned you 2 times now. I've warned you. Don't do it. And he's like, oh, what are you going to do? And she's like, okay. And she just does some Statham ninja. Puts him on his ass, gives him a good punch to the face. And that's when the movie for me really escalates, because Kate Bosworth turns up as angry meth mum to the bully. And guys, what do you think? When Kate Bosworth, what are your thoughts?
It's almost wild to see her cast as that character. It's pretty jarring.
Yeah, I don't know.
She doesn't strike me as a methed out. I mean, she plays it pretty well, but it just seems almost miscast. I don't know.
I would disagree. I mean, it's almost like they leaned into her skinniness and used it to their advantage.
I did actually. She was the kind of skinny where I was actually kind of worried. I was like, wow, she's like really skinny in this, and not quite Christian Bale machinist skinny, but
they should have got him. They should have
not
got
far
him.
off either.
Yeah, they should have got him to play her.
Bale would have killed. You know what? He would have really got into the role.
I keep thinking of the other like very very skinny girl that had run-ins with issues that was a popular like TV star, and then Misha Barton maybe kind of has that like super skinny, but like I don't know. She just looked like a pretty girl that they put meth makeup on. She didn't really sink into the character and really get method and.
I thought her performance was good, but I kind of feel the same way. Like her performance was good, but I didn't.
She just wasn't bullied. But I was into it.
Disagree. I think she kills it in this movie. She is so angry, and she's totally in her character of like you can see where the kid has got this bully from.
Yeah,
she's talking so quick. She's so belittling to her husband, and the bit where she's just shouting across the playground and like. Statham is just trying to be cool. Don't. All right, look, Maddie, love, just get in the car. Everything's okay. Yeah. He's trying to be super cool. And she's like trying to call.
My husband's gonna beat your ass.
Yeah, he's calling her. That bitch better come over here. Like, don't say it about my daughter. And then she basically bullies her husband into going to start a fight with Statham, who then just literally wipes the floor with the guy.
It's funny that, and I know it's such a pastiche that. Back to the Future cribbed the whole calling someone a chicken thing that it's now ingrained in every movie that you're going to say the one thing that has no one learned from that. From these instances, just fucking walk away. People.
Never worked for Marty McFly. Look, he
didn't.
Crashed the truck. He broke his hand. He ended up in a future wearing 2 ties where he gets fired by fax. So that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
But then
fucking Flea.
Flea will be your boss. Yeah.
But then then we learned in that 2-year time jump. So we've had the opening, then we jump 2 years into the future where he's living in Louisiana, but we've also missed the fact that his wife died the year before. It's like we've just we have he's widowed now as well. So
that's why important. I think it won't come up.
Because it's like based on a book. That's why I'm saying I put that Danny T thing is from a previous book. Then there was a book where the wife dies.
Was there a time period like when was the book? Do you know when the book was like set? Like what year?
I can
1712.
Yeah,
it's based on the 2005 novel Homefront by Chuck Logan. So
that's a cool name.
It's early 2000s kind of thing, but then it kind of escalates even more. So now at this point, you've got Kate Bosworth in the car. My favorite scene where
in an alternate universe, you'd call this movie Jacques Reacher.
I was gonna say there's a lot of Reacher comparisons.
David, that's why I like this movie. But yeah, they're in the car, and Kate Bosworth is like now just verbally just destroying her husband. And I like the bit where like she's like, "You're just a pussy. Just like he put you in the ground." And then you got the bully in the background going, "No, mama, he tripped just like I did." I was like, that did make me laugh. But basically, Kate Bosworth goes to her brother, Gator Bovine. Was it Bodan? Bodan. Gator Bodan.
Gator.
Oh my god.
Who's basically he is the guy that cooks all the meth in town.
Yeah.
But he also, I think, snitches to the sheriff, who is, of course, played by Clancy
Brown.
So he's kind of like, not protected, but you never quite know if Clancy Brown is in or not. Which
I was gonna say like it's weird not seeing him as just strictly a villain,
right?
Like 100% on everything. Like he's never a good bloke. He's just you just can't trust the guy,
I can only see him as
Troopers.
Fair, yeah.
I can only ever see him as the prison guard from Shawshank, the Kurgan, Mr. Krabs. That's just the only thing I think of when I see him.
No, for sure. For me, he's always the Shawshank guy for me.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so she enlists the help of her meth cooking brother, who's a bit of a gangster. I mean, not, but he just cooks meth. We're kind of introduced to him. Baseball batting some meth heads in the legs because they were cooking in his town. So then he goes, and it's kind of like explained to Statham, by his buddy, who's like, here it's not like, Tito is his friend. He's like, it's not like you're used to here. It's like old school. There's like blood feuds here. You wanna try and fix this. So he very quickly, Statham takes us on board very quickly, goes and apologizes to the ex-husband and completely just like kowtows and absolutely no problem. I'll apologize, this, that, and the other. But it's like Gator, crazy as he is, he just breaks into their house, steals their cat, goes through their files, finds out he's an undercover DEA agent because unfortunately he went through the box labeled "Don't go through this box of DEA secrets," which he realizes he can now do a favor for these biker gangs in the hopes of getting distribution for his meth, and his connection to that is with Winona Ryder. Her character introduction is quite interesting, isn't it? She turns up, hi, then you have this 2-second cutaway of them having sex like
immediately
over the truck.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Then it's the post-coital conversation. You're like, that was weird.
Yeah, it's just, it cuts to him pulling his pants up, and it's just like, what are we doing? What's going on here?
Yeah. What's weird is that was filmed in real time too.
The only redeeming quality this movie has is James Franco getting the shit kicked out of him. Yeah, like much like Danny Masterson in Face Off.
Yeah.
It's got, I mean, like Franco does play a real good dick in this movie. He's just he is very punchable. He kind of leans into that kind of thing that you see come out in Spider-Man 3.
Oh, I was gonna say in Spring Breakers.
No, I haven't seen Spring Breakers, but yes, I hear that's a very sort of similar thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just got this inherent what's the word? Skeeziness to it.
And considering that all three of these movies are set, and I think both filmed in Louisiana, he is the only gator in any of these three movies.
But he does have a terrible gator tattoo as well. It was like, when you did get a look at it, it was so cartoony. Like, come on, dude.
And you know Franco drew that too. Like,
I was gonna say
the true artist he is.
I was gonna say he definitely got that out of some sort of like quarter machine, like from the gas station, and put it on. Yeah.
So speaking of gas station, they pull into, I got it in my notes, they pull into a gas station, the gas prices are lower now than they are there in this movie. So I was like, man, 2013 gas prices were even higher than they are now. That's ridiculous. But for me, I've got it written here, is slightly angry Statham is like porn to me. He's like, he's holding it back. You can see he's angry. You know he wants to hurt these people, but he's just being good.
Yeah.
He plays that shit really well.
There's a reason he does all these movies is because he's so fantastic in them. And if it's any inclination to how this career path is going to go with the upcoming The Beekeeper, I'm on board. Like, just give me these fucking movies.
I saw the poster and I'm like, what could this possibly?
And I know you don't watch trailers. And Will, did you send this to us?
I sent the trailer. Okay. Yeah.
And it's one of those trailers where it's the entire movie, so definitely don't watch it. But I could tell you the plot, but it doesn't even matter because it's been done in a million other Statham movies. So
yeah,
it's worth watching the trailer. If you could,
if I tell you a Jason Statham action movie, you've got it. You just saw the entire film.
Somebody stole my organic honey.
I don't think it has anything to do with bees.
God, it was so funny. It made me want to do my Alan, really start to pitch my Alan Ritchson, the guy star of Reacher, to do my movie The Dog Walker, where he's like he's a professional dog walker for people, but he used to be on an oil rig where there was a murder, and he's called back into action. He has to use his dog walking skills to like kill everybody on the oil rig.
I'm into it. I mean, the plot of The Beekeeper sounds like a movie we would pitch on this podcast.
It sounded exactly like something.
It sounds like was it Liam Neeson as Rick Shaw?
Exactly.
It was literally Rick Shaw. It's incredible.
If you just type Jason Statham into ChatGPT, it just spits out 600 movies.
Yeah,
the same core thing that are interchangeable, and they should make all of them.
But I will say that like this one is the least Statham of Statham movies. That instead of him, because I think I see your face. I see your face right, but in other Statham movies, he kicks and punches his way through the whole movie. Whereas in this one, he starts the movie with a bit of chasing on a motorbike. But then we get him just being messed with. He doesn't really get to do.
Yeah, he's kind of calm. Like, he can't. He's under a Witsec. Like, he can't. He's trying to keep a low profile. Statham is the worst Statham. I need big, loud, obnoxious. Give me Statham in Spy. Give me all of that. I just watched.
I didn't like that movie, but I don't like that movie.
But he is the best part.
He's phenomenal.
I tried to like
put me in the face off machine.
Put me in the face off machine. The best.
But we do get some good Statham where it's like you definitely get the fucked with the wrong guy. You know, I'm gonna go read him a bedtime story. You know, we get some good Statham lines. And one thing I will say as well is that, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but one, excellent and very pretty location shots. But two, if you guys noticed it, but anytime he's really hanging around with his daughter and things are cool, it's very colorful. And anytime it starts losing saturation and losing color, the darker it gets. So as the movie sort of progresses, the color starts going away, the nice reds and the blues start going away, and then it becomes a very, very dark movie. I know it's dark as well because it's happening at night, but even any of the scenes that are kind of happening with Gator and stuff, it's all sort of much more washed out. And then you cut back to Statham and you've got, you know, the American flag.
Are you doing your Scorsese cinema?
Cinema, baby. This movie is cinema. So then it all escalates that when Gator sends Winona Ryder to go to Danny T, the guy from the beginning of the movie, and meets him in prison and gives him the information. So suddenly Frank Grillo,
love him,
of MCU,
he's great.
Yep. He turns up with his biker gang to kill Statham, and so that's when it kind of kicks off the action, sort of like, if you will, like it's the kind of, you know, it's the. I love the house, by the way. So something else I've written in the notes is cool house.
Yeah, and I wonder if in a different like an alternate universe, the roles were flipped, where Frank Grillo was the main character, but Statham was the villain.
Oh, Grillo would die. Statham would win. That'll be the third movie in a row with a bummer ending.
But I love this resurgence now of like Frank Grillo becoming like a proper, like, he's fantastic, you know?
Yeah, no, he in another era of like film, he would have been like a Van Damme, or like he would have been on that level. He's a very reliable action star. He's really good. He's just unfortunately a lot of times in these like really bad B action movies. But I think he's better than that. I really think he's got great screen presence.
The more recent of his movies have been the one where he's the driver and the one where with Mel Gibson, which he's great. He's great.
That one was cool. Was it like Boss Level or something like that? I never
that one. And then Cop Shop was another one with him and Jerry Butts. Great movie.
I've been wanting to watch that.
It's on Peacock.
Is that a Carnahan movie?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was like post pandemic, that just straight to Peacock. That was the first thing they had, I think.
I remember that one coming out. So yeah, it kind of gets to that point of we're now set up where we're in the house. We've got 5 or 6 guys coming for us. We've got the daughter in the house, but the daughter's not stupid. The daughter is smart. She knows how to fight. She's been well trained by dad. She's a good little Statham. And then you kind of got, it's quite like, you got Franco deliberately being seen everywhere, goes up and, you know, gives a drink to the sheriff and is publicly playing pool to show that he has nothing to do with this. But then it all kind of goes tits up in a really great way. This is where I'm just like, finally, I've been waiting the whole movie. Statham's pissed off and now they're coming. Statham, hurt him, Statham. And he does. He hurts him good. It's fun.
Yeah. No, that's
you want to cathartic? Let's cathartic.
Yeah, I do say I was a lot more engaged. Like once we got to like the last act of this movie, I was a lot more into it. When Statham does his thing, it's amazing. Like he's great. But I love that this movie does have my favorite trope of like the out of shape or skinny weaklings who are like, "You got a problem?" and you're going up to Jason Statham, and it's just like,
it's amazing.
Guys, what are you doing? That guy looks like he snaps necks for a living.
I always say, imagine being this. Imagine being the 6th or 7th henchman to be like, all right, I got this.
Yeah, now it's my time to shine. Yeah. I know he's ripped 12 people apart.
I'm gonna make you proud, Dad.
It's just... I can't feel anything about.
I would love to see a Statham in the vein of like a JCVD, where Jason Statham is just playing himself as Jason Statham, and he just gets wrapped up in this exceedingly insane, like, plot twist. I don't know.
I remember like Statham. I never, because he turned up in Lock, Stock. He's the opening of Lock, Stock, and he's just like, and he was riffing.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, like I remember, what's the director? Guy Ritchie was just telling him, just, you know, riff, and he was like, you know, one step after the other. That's why I say Robert's your father's brother. You know, I used to watch that movie all the time, and then it's followed up with Snatch. And he's just being, you know, he's just being Statham again. Yeah. And then I remember watching The Transporter.
Right. That was the first.
And it's like, is that scene at the end where he's put oil all over the floor, and he breaks off the two pedals from the bike. And there's a scene where I'm like, I had this jarring moment when I'm like, this isn't a stuntman. I watched Jason Statham as the camera was revolving, did 3 spin kicks to take out these 3 guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Have you ever seen him in his diving competitions?
That's the thing, because that's where it comes out, is that, he was an Olympic diver. And so the guy is like, that's from that point on, like, he just more and more action that I never would have expected that, because the thing is, he is funny and he's a good actor and he's got good comedy and everything else. And it's just, he's also, I think, like you said it, Will, he looks like he snaps necks for a living, which is why he's great in these movies. But I just think he's a good actor as well. So he works for me. I like Statham, which is why it's like, give me another Statham movie.
It's the same reason we watch all these Jerry Butler movies. It just fucking works, man. Like you stay in your lane, and if you were to do like be a romantic lead, it might be fucking jarring. Like it's like seeing The Rock being a romantic lead. It just doesn't make any sense.
The other part for me was that I didn't realize, one, that Statham could kick ass, but 2, I didn't realize that he was handsome. Like for me, he was always kind of like, he looks like he could hammer nails in with his head kind of thing. And it's like the remake, which I never thought would be good, but it was, The Italian Job. Gary Gray one, that you're taking a classic British movie and setting it in LA. That's a hate crime. But then you actually watch the movie and it's actually quite enjoyable. But Statham plays Handsome Rob. And it's like he's basically Face from the... And I go, wait a minute, he is really handsome as well. How do I not see this? For me, it was always just this
if you squint your eyes, he kind of looks like one of the engineers from Prometheus.
Yeah. Son of a bitch. He actually does though. That's, you son of a bitch.
I just ruined Statham for you.
Oh man,
this for me is what you've done. Every time I watch it, I'm gonna be amazed at like, okay, all right, hello, let's go to the stars, eh?
Well, now I just realized we need Statham versus Alien. Like that's obviously
honestly, you heard it here first, folks. That's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Statham in a Predator movie.
Jason Statham.
Yes,
Space them. Jason Space them. We need Space them.
You mean to tell me these aliens bleed acid? Well, that's how we're gonna get out of this space station.
Well, guess
I'll
what?
rip them all in half.
I'll drink acid. He drinks it and just dies.
God, this would be the most incredible movie ever.
I hope someone's writing these ideas down.
I expect to see the poster tomorrow, buddy. But then it sort of continues. So like the daughter's been smart. She's run away. Statham gets caught up in a big fight with Frank Grillo. So like, it's quite fun. Winona Ryder is not just a one sort of like she's not just acting in one particular way. She calls up Franco and is like, this is messed up. I'm out. I'm not in for this. There's too much shooting. She kind of takes the little girl to save her, but then in the same way kind of kidnaps her.
Yeah.
Which puts her in more danger. And then it's kind of like, which then sets up that we get like, kind of cool, get a cool car chase. Then we get that classic kind of like isolated in the middle of the bridge moment. That's the thing. I'm watching this movie and it's doing all the things right.
It's got a ton of great set pieces. The one thing none of these movies had was a really cool like pontoon boat chase, like you get from whatever that one Police Academy movie was. Yeah,
Police Academy 3, I believe. I really enjoyed that one actually. The airboat thing at the
airboats.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
It's we needed. What is the movie? Isn't the movie called Gator with Burt Reynolds?
Yeah,
Burt
Reynolds.
Yeah.
Deliverance
Remember
2?
Gator? Yeah.
Deliverance 2, still delivering.
I was gonna say the only like airboat pontoon boat chasing I remember is that Chuck Norris Invasion USA.
I have heard
Invasion USA, which is incredible.
Yes, Swamp Thing. But yeah, Invasion USA. I've heard all about that movie.
Right.
It's the one where it's like Chuck Norris in denim, cut off.
Yes.
And, the Soviets invade a mall and he takes them out.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Right?
That
sounds
movie,
way better than Red Dawn.
Oh my god. So like that, just a quick tangent. That movie, my buddy Eddie, when I worked at the video store, he's like, let me show you the best trailer that you've ever seen in your life. And he showed me the trailer for Invasion USA. And it's literally, if you see the trailer, it's like a neighborhood and it's Christmas. People are putting up decorations and you hear a mom go, kids, time for dinner. The voice actor comes in, he goes, no one thought it could happen here. And a truck pulls up and they pull out a bazooka and they fire it into the house and it explodes. And I was like, I'm in. This is the most incredible thing. And the whole rest of the trailer is just Chuck Norris.
Fuck yes.
No emotion on his face, barely any movement, just shooting people left and right. And it's incredible. I didn't watch the movie for like 10 years because I was like,
how couldn't live up to the hype. Yeah. When you finally saw it, did it?
When I finally saw it, no, but it is interesting to watch because it's directed by one of the Friday the 13th directors.
Okay.
And the movie is literally Friday the 13th, where Chuck Norris is Jason, and all the terrorists are the teenagers who get killed in those movies. Yes. And because he like appears out of nowhere, there's no logic to how he like shows up anywhere.
Oh, I'm watching. Once we're done here, I'm watching that today.
You've signed me. Yes, sign me up.
Absolutely watch it.
We may have to set a time and do a live text thread.
Wait,
or like
what city does this take? What city does this take place in?
Yeah,
God, I don't even think they say. Oh, it's in Florida. Like so. Yeah.
It's okay. We can do a challenge episode against ourselves.
Yes.
It's a canon.
Just get Chuck Norris on the pod.
Oh, there you go. A group of Cuban refugees. There you go.
Yes.
It makes sense now. It's the FBI and the Miami Police Department. There we go.
Right.
Chuck Norris kills everybody. Awesome. It made $17 million. Yay!
For a Chuck Norris movie, that's pretty good.
Yeah. That is you've got me intrigued. But back to Homefront, which so we end up on this the bridge. Clancy Brown, like it looks like Statham's gonna get done, but the daughter comes up, distracts Gator. You think Clancy Brown is gonna take that long shot, but no, we get the catharsis of just you've been waiting the whole movie for it's kind of like that. The Batman line is like, "There's nothing about the Gator I can't fix with my hands," and so Statham just puts him on the ground and beats the ever-living shit out of him while just sort of mocking him. "Oh, can you taste it now? Can you smell the wood now? You getting it now?" I'm like, "Yeah, keep punching him, buddy. Keep everyone."
This is for my cat. Whatever happened to that cat, by the way? Does that thing ever come back?
Yes,
or was it bunny? Right?
Cat was at Gator's meth lab.
Thank God.
They blew up.
Yeah. See, now if this was in the 90s, he would have found that cat strung up and gutted like violently.
Yeah.
They don't do that in movies anymore, thankfully, because horrible.
Dragon Tattoo, they do it. They break that cat into pieces.
Fair.
Classic
picture.
About like the little twist is that Statham went on a little bit of a revenge tour that we didn't. That nothing happened. But when they finally is that Kate Bosworth's character has a little redemption arc. So the daughter sort of like goes the kill him with kindness route. She invites the bully to her birthday party. They kind of become friends. Statham has been just very like apologetic and so forth with Kate Bosworth, that she's like, "All right, okay, it's done. Everything's behind us."
Then she moves to Metropolis to become a news reporter.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, she meets this guy Clark Kent. But like, so later on in the movie where the daughter's been kidnapped, Bosworth turns up and she's like, "What the hell is going on here?"
Right.
Shooting. Kids have been taken. And he's like, "Don't know what you're talking about. Go on about your day," you know. But she's like, "Look, man, we live here too. You know, this is going too far. This is messed up." And she ends up getting shot by Franco's character. That I was like,
by accident, yeah, right.
I went, oh, snap! Didn't see that. Yeah. Like, and I'd seen the movie, I'd forgotten that happened. Yeah. So I was like, I do like that they gave her this kind of like little redemptive arc of, you know, not everybody sucks and you can learn, you know. And then the other side of it is that we did that his buddy Tito, you know, I got so angry for a second because I forgot, because it's like, you know, literally the only black character in the movie, and like he gets into a fight. I do like I think I read it that you got him in the forking balls. So yeah, he takes the fork, gets the guy right in his junk, and but you think he's dead, but don't worry, he isn't. He turns up later, very, very messed up, to deliver his line, "Fucking rednecks," which I'm like, yeah. But yeah, no, and then we got, the movie ends, and Statham, we last see him going to Danny T in prison, going, "I'll be here when you're done," you know, setting up Homefront 2, more home, more front, which never turned up, which I'm sad about. I would have watched it. You
can just watch any other Statham movie and just change the title card, and you'll be fine.
No, though, can you though? Because like I said,
obviously, yes.
No, Homefront's different. Homefront's a little bit, like I said, if it was in the 90s and it had Sylvester Stallone in it, we'd be talking about it like an absolute
But it's not. It was in the 2000s with Statham, like every other movie in the 2000s.
So what you're saying is, if I was just saying, if you change everything about this movie, it would be a classic, and you're saying that is not how that works? Okay. So okay, that's a good argument.
Now, yeah.
when you put it...
So you're saying if this was in the 80s and you put Chuck Norris in it, I mean, come on. I'm on board. I'm not trying to argue with you. You're 100% right. I just want more of these 90s action movies.
The thing is, I agree. That's why I said, was it the Taylor Sheridan movie, Those Who Wish Me Dead, with Angelina Jolie, 90s action movie.
Oh yeah, that was it's
the Ron drawing Woodstone of 90s.
It's Howie Long and Firestorm. We talked about that.
Yeah.
I just watched another one. I just watched like a thrillery movie. It was Reptile on Netflix with Benicio del Toro.
Oh yeah, I was just looking at that last night. Was it any good?
It's a movie.
See, it's like, and it's being advertised as Del Toro's best performance since Sicario. I'm like, oh, okay, oh yeah.
I mean, it's a perfectly watchable film. It's if you throw it on the Sunday afternoon, it's good.
Well, funny enough, it is Sunday afternoon right now.
There you go.
You got Invasion USA to watch first.
That's right.
I think we 100% should schedule it. Maybe that could be one of our first. We should do a live commentary.
Ooh.
Absolutely.
That would be a good live commentary for us to put behind a Patreon that we will eventually launch.
You mean people want to pay us to do this?
They will for Invasion USA, let me tell you.
Well, the thing is, all right, we've covered these three movies, but this is now where this is going to be hard. I'm the hardest, I think, of all the previous episodes that we've had. This, for me, is an absolute three-way tie because we're trying to figure out which one's the most Louisiana. All of them are. They are like, and like I think Ryan, you texted it's one of your favorite things to say is that you can find the movie where you can take the state out of this movie and it'd be the same movie.
Yeah,
that
I don't think you could do that.
Does not apply to any of these movies. The very point of these movies is that they are in Louisiana. So when you're, with Skeleton Key, it's the whole creepy kind of historical voodoo hoodoo vibe. Yep. When it's Blue Bayou, I mean, one, it's the name of the movie, but two, it's specifically set in this area with this feel and this vibe. And then Homefront, granted, they could have gone to Witsec anywhere else, but it's like,
I was going to ask, is there a reason why they choose Louisiana? Was there a line on that?
Quiet life. It's kind of like what we were talking about with Sleeping with the Enemy, right?
Yeah.
Where we go to this small town Iowa to just get away from it. But in that case, they didn't. They just went to South Carolina, North Carolina, and just shot things. Whereas they specifically go to Louisiana and specifically shoot the hell out of it there. So granted, you could have changed the plot to Homefront to be any state. But when they did choose Louisiana, they went all in. They went balls deep Statham in Louisiana. So
fair.
What do you guys anybody want to try and take a shot at this one? Because it's
like I said, but the only one of these movies that really captures the essence of hoodoo is the Skeleton Key. And I think you're overlooking a very important part of Louisiana culture, and that's skeleton keys.
But they did get bands playing, didn't we? Go, we got that.
It had a good soundtrack. It had a very all these movies had very good musical scores and soundtrack that added to that layer of feeling very Louisiana. So it just makes this even more difficult.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I was about to say thanks for complicating the matter even more, Chief.
But take the movie out. Take the music out.
Will, what are you thinking, buddy? Because I'm at a loss. I'm looking for some Will magic here.
Yeah. So I guess now it's like kind of take our normal process of take the movie out. I think we got to do kind of like a reverse engineer. Like, how much of the movie can you remove, or how much of Louisiana can you remove from the movie before it's recognizable as the same movie? You got to almost kind of go from the other end. And I would say of all of them, you could remove. It would change the movie a lot, but I don't think it would change it as much as the others. Is Homefront, you can remove the Louisiana and set it in another small town. It would still change it quite a bit, but I think the overall structure would still be intact.
You could have said it in in Georgia,
Florida,
Alabama, Mississippi,
any southern kind of state. But again, there were no pontoon boat fights, so I mean,
that's very true.
It's a key point in a movie like this. No one he didn't. like hold a villain up into the blades of the fan and said, "I'm a big fan of yours"? Come on. None of it didn't have it.
Yeah.
It just didn't have it. It was a very tame, and I blame Stallone for that, for being a very tame writer,
Yeah.
holding back.
I often blame Stallone for a lot of problems with movies, that even movies he's not involved in.
Okay, but, I'm willing to take this argument.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm willing, because the thing is that, because like it being my choice, unless I'm watching it, and if you guys at home, if you do watch this movie, it is dripping in Louisiana. They've got some beautiful shots, establishing shots. It really looks like a lovely place. They use the light really well. They use the trees and the house and just the real feel of it. But I think you're right in that regard, that if we had said it was Mississippi or Alabama or Georgia, it would have been basically the same. I mean, so okay, all right, I can draw,
and that's not to detract from the movie at all. I mean,
no,
it's still fantastic.
It's just because it's so hard. Because the thing is, right, and this is the way that I look at it, is that the Skeleton Key, as for what it is, really goes hard on the Louisiana. I mean, if you try to start taking the Louisiana out of this one, it quickly stuck.
I mean, even the history, and not just the setting, but the history of everything, and the whole plantation aspect, and like a lot of the problematic things. You take the theme out of it, but
like the voodoo and the New Orleans of it all. And
you can't set that in like Newark.
Like it becomes a different movie at that point. It's just not the same film.
A better movie, some would say.
Probably a better movie.
And it does give us a sort of a good combo, because it gives us, because she's hitting between New Orleans and that sort of city vibe. And then like she's driving out on roads, we went through New Orleans a few months ago, that I was like, oh, I know that road, I know exactly where they are. And then because
that's the Skeleton Key road,
there was a crash on the highway. And so we actually got diverted 50 miles through back roads. And so so we did back roads through Louisiana. So I'm watching them going, man, this is you can tell they shot it there. But then so we've got that kind of history, we've got that kind of mysticism and things that is a part of Louisiana and New Orleans when you go down there. It's like the card readers and the tarot and all that kind of stuff that factors in as well. And then that extra bit of culture. That's one thing we're always trying to inject into more of these movies too. And that's why I picked this absolute treasure trove of Louisiana culture, the Skeleton Key. But then Blue Bayou is the same.
It is Louisiana.
It is.
It's shot there. It's every bit of that movie. You can't remove any of the Louisiana from this movie, and it doesn't. It would just fundamentally alter the film.
It's got the same sort of thing that we were just saying, is it gives us the New Orleans and the city aspect. But it also gives us, there are times they're spent out it's just very swampy. It's his favorite place. It's the water. It's quiet. It's the trees. You get a little bit more of the, it definitely focuses on, instead of it being like the, oh, hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Like, like the whole big house. It's the people just living day to day. It's people, like, it shows just the average place where people live. It's like some back alleys and things like that. Very real, just very, very real. And it also does bring in the especially places like New Orleans and things like that. It's a real hodgepodge. It's a real in this movie you have Vietnamese people, you have Korean people, you have white people, black people, you have. You went with hodgepodge and not gumbo. Freaking idiot.
That's shooting from half court and missing wildly, and it goes into the stands.
Now, I do wonder, there was the Antonio, or right? The actor. What if, hear me out, this is gonna be a bit of a reach. The voice coach that he hired only specialized in one voice, so he had to set this in Louisiana because that was the only accent that guy could teach him. It is that would be a hilarious way to write that movie. I mean, I can see that, but it's kind of the same way that Will and I said when we were talking Blue Bayou, is that his accent was so good. It was, oh my god! This was based on. I didn't even want to look it up because I didn't want to. I didn't know anything about him, but I was 100% on board, full belief that he was that person, like that voice, that actor from there, because the way he captures everything feels so natural, and he feels like he's been a part of that place for so long that it just adds to the depth and complexity of this movie.
Ooh, okay. So could we argue that Blue Bayou gives you a very, very realistic understanding of what Louisiana is like, whereas Skeleton Key gives us a very much
It's fantasy, yeah.
Yes, that almost kind of what you've heard about
Yeah.
Louisiana, that rumor about it, that sort of like the little sort of nuance or history or just the zhuzh that you hear, has that sort of just been sprinkled on, as opposed to, like, again, like Will said when we're talking Blue Bayou, is it has almost a documentary feel.
Yeah. I think it captures the feeling of
Ooh,
current day.
Is that it? Is that how we figured out how to kind of slice this apart? Because you know, we could say it right now that it's almost a three-way tie for this. You know, and very much that you watch any of these movies, this is going to make you feel like you've been there.
If it had a scene where Alicia Vikander's character goes to some insane like hoodoo church to pray that they'll get them, I mean, it just a little scene probably could have
or if that, like, you know, he was rushing to get to his court meeting, but he does it on an airboat.
Yeah, there we go.
Or the whole ending of the film is just 3 airboats trying to get to the airport. You got the Alicia Vikander, you got the cop, you got the mother-in-law. I mean,
I think that something they should have brought up in the movie is, if you don't believe in the court system, there's no way it can deport you. That's what he should have done.
Laws don't happen unless you believe in them. Oh, it's like all this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the future senator of Louisiana, Will Hirsch.
Will Hirsch, you got a future, my friend. That is that's
donate to my campaign. Oh, that's Boston. I'm doing right there. Ignore that.
All right, so are we thinking?
I'll give it to Blue Bayou for sure.
Okay,
much to my chagrin, because
there's
not one Skeleton Key in the Blue Bayou.
Well, you wait until we bring Police Academy 3. It looks like the official movie for the United States of a Movie Podcast to represent Louisiana until such time as we can find another movie to dethrone it. Is 2021's Blue Bayou. Justin Chon wrote, direct, acted. We would recommend watching it. We would recommend following it up with some sort of comedy. We would recommend that, as you're going into this, just understand that if something bad's going to happen, it's probably going to happen. But that being said, a beautiful, beautiful movie and an excellent choice, Will. Really, really happy you chose that one. Though my missus, not so happy at all, because when it comes to also rans, this state has a shit ton of movies.
So many.
That are great. I mean, I was circling, Interview with the Vampire.
I watched that as a backup just in case you guys started Skeleton Key.
The Jack Skellington Key.
Skeleton Key, the Jack Skellington story.
But no, is that Ryan, you were going to choose a movie that Will hadn't seen, and I really wanted to watch again. In fact, my missus was almost going to join us for this state because you talked about it. It was the Mr. and Mrs. Smith precursor.
Oh, Undercover Blues.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm so mad I didn't pick that.
Yeah, dude. Tell me about it.
That would have been a good palate cleanser after Blue Bayou.
Yes, it would.
Sure.
Yes, it would. Yes, Undercover Blues would have been
a great one. I don't think it's streaming anywhere, but that's a fun.
It's so good if you get the chance.
Movie.
His name is Muerte. Will, any other sort of like movies that you were circling?
Well, yeah, if you had not picked Homefront, I definitely would have picked Hard Target. Like, that was the first one that came to mind.
Yeah.
Is I was like, Hard Target. But once you picked Homefront, I'm like, well, okay, we can't do 2 Hard
Unless
Targets.
all 3 of us pick an insane. Unless
And
I picked.
Had we done that, we would have done such a disservice to Louisiana. Have we gone Hard Target, Homefront, and some other?
We probably would have had 2 Statham movies, because I definitely would have picked The Mechanic.
Well, look, this just excites me for when we return to Louisiana, that we know we're going to have some absolute bangers. I think Hard Target and Undercover Blues are definitely going to have to feature, I think, in the future.
Oh yeah.
Because I thought Hard Target as well immediately.
I went against my gut, and I normally never do that, and I had to go with something intrinsically spooky, so to speak, for the holiday.
But the thing is, we could have had Wilford Brimley's impeccable Louisiana Bayou accent.
And
which has been my background on Twitter for like close to 12 years now, is him like running away.
I just put on The Firm last night, and he pops up in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, he's just, he's so great and everything.
When he's in Hard Target, he's also something like, he's like, was it 7 years younger than Tom Cruise is now, and he looks about 86
Yeah.
years old. It's so weird.
What's his hard target to lower the risk of diabetes?
Diabetes. Oh God, and his accent in that movie is just insane.
I love Wilford Brimley. All right, okay, cool. So we figured it out. And I've also figured out where we're going next week. And this, my missus and I we were driving yesterday because we were at a band concert for 10 hours. Kill me. But I was talking about how, you know, I said, oh, Ryan chose Skeleton Key because it's sort of spooky season. She's like, but Undercover Blues, man. And I was like, oh, Will kind of has been picking spooky ones too. And we're trying to figure something out. The state that we're going to next week, guys, is the state of fear. We are going to do a special because it is spooky season.
I thought the movie Fear
has to be a US based, okay, so we can't go to space. It has to be in the United States of America or territories, okay? But we're going to find the movie that puts us in a state of fear. I hate this because I hate scary movies. So this is going to suck for me, but we're going to have to find the best scary movie to try and decide which is the scariest movie ever made in America. So get thinking, because it is spooky season, if you guys are at home, this is going to be quite nicely timed as we roll up into Halloween. So get your thinking caps on. Until that point, Ryan, Will, thank you so much for the excellent choices.
Absolute pleasure.
This week. Was it a pleasure? It was a pleasure, but it sucked, man. My heart hurt so bad during Blue Bayou. But
I'm gonna have to watch Undercover Blues just to
for real.
Just to cleanse.
And I'll text you guys later when we're doing Invasion USA. But yes, for now we've got Blue Bayou. Next week we're going to be delving into some scary movies. If you have any ideas, please let us know. Reach out to us if you're listening to this. Send us a text. Hit us up on Twitter. You can find me at Ollie_Pettigrew. You can also find me as That Englishman in Texas. You can find Will as Entitled Willennial. You can't find Ryan anywhere, but you can buy his great designs on Threadless. I used to look for Rhino Digital, RYNO Digital, all one word. And with that, guys, we're just going to have to, I can't wait for the movies that you're going to start sending on the text thread. I'm already feeling nervous about it because I hate this kind of thing. But to everybody listening at home and any of you that's watching here on YouTube, thanks for joining us for this episode of the United States of a Movie podcast.